Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another meta breakdown video. In today's video, we're going over the Oceania online pre-side best of one regional that took place over the weekend. Shout out, as always, to the Lookout for supplying us with excellent information and infographics for the tournament. I'll be using those in today's video. And also, shout out to my teammate Marcus, who was asked to co-commentate the stream for Oceania. So if you guys happen to tune into the stream, you may have heard his lovely voice, the second place national runner-up, top 8 worlds qualifier. Yeah, pretty cool stuff from our end. But anyways, we'll get into that in today's video. If you guys are new, make sure to subscribe, hit that bell so you never miss a video. And if you guys are planning on buying any cards, maybe for decks we talk about today, or any trading cards for that matter, it does help me out a lot if you were to use my link in the description to TCG Player. I really would appreciate it. Anyways, let's jump right on in, taking a look at this event. We had 61 players once again online pre-side best of one. And you see the pie chart here. We have a lot of concentration, particularly in Sin, Shenron, and Gamma. That's only as far as top 16 goes. That's not as far as like total concentration of decks in the room. We are going to take a look at that in just a little bit. But to see these two leaders be most represented by a super wide margin, I definitely find somewhat surprising. Like, I don't know, it feels like every week it just goes back and forth between Sin and Gogeta being like overly represented, especially in non-American regions for whatever reason. I wonder what causes like each one to just fluctuate so much. Obviously it has to do with like the players run through the tournament. Do they have a good day or a bad day? Like, that really does play a factor in it, believe it or not. Like, it's a card game, you got to make sure you're running hot. Even though Dragon Ball Super is so consistent, you would think that doesn't matter as much. It still does matter a decent amount. But yeah, here we have Sin super highly repped, with Gogeta only taking up, it looks like, 2 slots. But Gogeta does go on to actually win the event here. So even though Sin was seemingly drowning out the competition, Gogeta still managed to take that top slot. And I gotta say, I am surprised to see Gogeta go all the way to first place. Definitely not surprised to see it top, especially in if it was in higher numbers. I wouldn't be surprised about that. What I am more surprised about is that it's able to go to first place when, you know, we already knew Blue had great answers to Gogeta triumphant together, right? With Dirty Burst and, you know, different things along those lines. And now a lot of these decks having actually pretty good answers to Broly Crown as well. Like all the Blue Android decks, for example, can use Android 18, Let the Battle Begin to counter Broly Crown pretty effectively, considering a lot of the blue decks are Android based. But besides that, now Yellow has really good answers to Red, and namely Gogeta triumphant together, because in that matchup now Yellow decks can use the Vegito Overwhelming Might counterplay, which doesn't like stop the Gogeta from attacking you or anything, but it does basically put a halt on their turn, because now if they want to attack your entire board with the Gogeta, they do have to tap a card every time they do that. So more often than not, they're probably only attacking your leader and maybe one other card with their Gogeta E-drop, which is a really big thing Yellow has going for it. Besides that, now you can play around Broly Crown a lot better too, because of all those new counterplays. So Vegito, like I already mentioned, as well as the new Sin Shenron Champ Pack promo. You can leave 2 or 3 energy open against them. If they Broly Crown you, you just counterplay, bring yourself down to 1 energy. Now they've wasted an energy because you don't have 2 energy open anymore. They can't look at your hand, and you just, you know, floodgated them, or in the case of Sin, played the Sin and made them have to deal with that. So yeah, I am still surprised that Gogeta can work its way to first place. Obviously, kudos to this player, he must have done a great job all day. I just feel like now that another color has such good answers to what Gogeta is doing, it's just a little bit surprising. That's all I wanted to get with that point. But yeah, Sin, I gotta say, the more and more I've been playing against Sin for these past several formats, it's such a weird phenomenon. I feel like Sin is the definition of you know, go first, go second advantages. Like, I feel like going first against Sin is a completely different game than going second against it. And I think that really does matter when you're going up against an aggro deck. If they're on the you know, energy footing, they can do a whole lot more than you can defend, and vice versa. If they're behind on an energy, you have way more resources to defend, and that makes sense. But I feel like Sin is just the epitome of that for whatever reason. So still super popular here. Honestly though, I still hope going into set 21 these decks do see some more of a significant hit. Obviously other things will need to be hit as well, not only Red. Red is not like the problem of the format or anything. I'm just a little bit bored with these decks. I think they are just a little bit too efficient. So I'd like to see some other decks step up, and you know, some well-rounded hits to the color wheel would be kind of nice. But anyways, moving along here, we do have Gamma being the most highly repped blue deck, and surprisingly, there's no Android 21 in this top 16. I do find that very surprising, considering that it's been very consistent leading up into this tournament. And no, Expert 21 is also worth mentioning. Not that you'd expect to see a ton of it, but it has actually managed to secure 1 top cut spot in I think 3 or 4 tournaments in a row now. So that's pretty surprising. We do have a few yellow participants. We have Majin Vegeta and Spirit Bomb Goku of all things. No Trunks Vegeta and no Golden Frieza. I do think a lot of what's interesting about this pie chart here is more so what's missing than necessarily what is included. We do have the one Soul Striker though. Shout out to Marcus for putting that leader on the map. He topped 2 back-to-back regionals with it. We do have another player here topping with it as well. I'm sure a very different build though, because Marcus played very different builds in the back-to-back regionals. Now for some of the other stuff, we do have a red blue cooler mill, which is actually getting some nice support in set 21, the new Sin Shenron SCR. We have our only black leader representative looking like Supreme Kai of Time, no Cumber, which again is interesting. And I cannot believe we actually have a green Gogeta BR in this top 16. I mean, I really just don't think that deck is very good, so I am super eager to see what this player has in store for this build. If it's some sort of revolutionary type of thing, I am super curious. So hey, if you're this player, reach out to me. Let's do deck profile, because I would love to see what you're playing in this build and how you were able to top this event with this leader, because man, the competition is tough right now with the meta. But anyways, let's take a look at some of the other data that the Lookout was able to secure for us. So we have the full breakdown of the 61 different players. So in terms of concentration, we have Sin being the most repped in the entire tournament, so no surprise that it takes up the most of top 16. What is immediately surprising is right after that though, we have Android 21 being the second most repped leader in the tournament, and not a single one makes it a top 16. Very interesting. That I think honestly can be attributed to aggro. Like 21, believe it or not, really has a rough aggro matchup. Sin, I talked about it, like dice roll is huge. These 21 players might have lost every single die roll to Sin. That's totally possible. Even going first against Sin going second is still tough for 21. Like tapping out for that ramp leaves you very vulnerable to a lot of what Sin and all the other aggro decks are able to do. So it is a bit tough for sure. I also find it extremely interesting that the most repped yellow deck here is Majin Vegeta. And for the singletons, I mean, do we even see any Trunks Vegeta or anything else? I think we see like an Ape Goku, so an Ape Goku reboot. I don't think we even see any Trunks Vegeta or Golden Frieza, which is incredibly surprising, because I definitely have Majin Vegeta pegged as a really good yellow deck, but I don't think it's better than Trunks Vegeta or Golden Frieza, so I'm super surprised to see this. But it actually was very popular. Majin Vegeta was very popular, I believe, in the last European event as well. So, you know, maybe just these different regions are on to something else, you know, entirely. We do have 4 Gamma, though. We have 3 Trunks Reboot, which I think a lot of people are looking to as the kind of Crimson replacement, but that deck hasn't seemed to take off the ground yet in terms of just being able to counter these red aggro decks like Crimson was able to. Maybe some more time needs to be put into those. And then we have a few other things here with 3 Unison Cooler, actually, taking up a decent, significant slot, which is cool. Now let's take a look at some more data here. We have the leader diversity. So these are the different leaders, the number of different leaders within their respective colors, which is actually, interestingly enough, pretty even. Obviously, blue is a bit of an outlier because there are a lot of good blue decks you can play in this format. A lot of blue, good blue leaders, I should say. Soul Striker 21, Gamma, those are like maybe the 3 meta ones. Soul Striker, definitely not so much meta. Trunks Reboot doing a lot of work, though. I think Beerus is still solid. Android 16, definitely decent. So there's a lot of good blue leaders you can play in this format for sure. Yellow, I'm kind of surprised it does not have more slots. Although I guess really, what are you playing in yellow? In yellow, you're playing Trunks Vegeta, you're playing Golden, you're playing Majin Vegeta, you're playing Ape Goku. That's 4 different leaders. Spirit Bomb's pretty solid too. So that might just be your 5 leaders right there, which I think is actually the 5 leaders that, oh, actually no Trunks Vegeta, no Golden from what I remember looking at. So you got a couple yellow options there. Actually, Majin Buu, or not Majin Buu, the AOD yellow leader, I think is top 1 or 2 events here and there. That's pretty cool. And then the rest of them pretty evenly split, although I'm a little bit hard pressed to find black leaders that are definitely worth playing besides like Supreme Kai of Time, Cumber, and maybe SS4 Goku. And probably same thing with green leaders. I mean, we had Gogeta BR for green top here, right? But besides that, you're looking at like what, Cooler, Cell, Reboot, and maybe one more that I just can't think of off the top of my head. But yeah, very cool stuff that I think it's interesting too that it's like within reason. Like none of them are playing, it's not like 10 different blue leaders compared to, you know, 5 5 5 4 on the board. So I think that's pretty interesting for sure. And now we just had the breakdown that shows us the total number of players in the room and the amount of players that are playing each color, right? So by a pretty decent margin, blue was the most rep deck overall, followed by red, which in this format makes a ton of sense, albeit with how much more dominant this top 16 red was, it is a little bit surprising that blue was overly dominant by 5 slots. And then yellow being second most repped. I mean, hey, these are the 3 best colors in the format. Black and green to a much greater degree, definitely lagging. But I gotta say, super interested to see what that green Gogeta BR deck must have consisted of, because man, that sounds super interesting. But overall, that's what we got for you here today, guys. You know, pretty much mostly what we're used to seeing, right? Like, you know, Sin and Gogeta are really good decks. Gamma 21, well, 21 actually missed Top Cut this week, but still really good decks. It's all about really figuring out how the deck you're playing deals with aggro. Once you have that down pat, you're just teching for the blue decks basically, and I think that's your formula in the very simplest way for approaching this format. But anyways, guys, let me know in the comments below what you think. What do you think about this format? Are you getting a little bit tired of it? I mean, I am a little bit. I think that's really only because Sin and Gogeta are still around. I think there are other really cool new decks to look at. Like, you've got 21, you've got Majin Vegeta, Cumber, even Kai of Time is like only one format old, so I don't even consider that to be like stale or anything. But I think that if we can just get some of these older decks out of there, I think we'll be in a much more exciting meta for sure. But anyways, let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.